What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. So there's a ton of news stories to go over this week, so I apologize if it's a little longer. But the first story is big news here, but something that we've seen coming for a long time. And that is about the next-gen Dodge Challenger getting electrified. Not fully electric though, so don't worry too much just yet. But anyway, the report here is from the Detroit News. They talked with FCA CEO Mike Manley about the next-gen Challenger, and he was quoted here as saying, "The reality is those platforms and that technology we used does need to move on. They can't exist as you get into the middle 2020s. New technology is going to drive a load of weight out, so we think of these powertrains in a different way. And we can use electrification to really supplement those vehicles. I think that electrification will be part of the formula that says what American muscle is in the future. What it isn't going to be is a V8 supercharged 700 horsepower engine." So there you have it. The Hellcat is on borrowed time. It is not going to be here forever. And you just had the CEO of FCA say this. So for anyone thinking this would continue on forever, it's definitely not. And this is why, last week when I was annoyed with people complaining about the Supra, like this stuff, we're lucky to have this type of stuff. These Hellcats and stuff like this, it's not going to last. It never was going to. But this certainly proves FCA is not planning on keeping this stuff around forever. So if you have any inkling of wanting to enjoy a supercharged 700 plus horsepower Challenger, I would recommend doing so here, in the next couple of years before they kill it off. Now, of course, they're not killing anything off anytime soon. We know the Challenger, I think the next gen version is coming like maybe 2021, 2022. It's still got a few more years to milk out this platform here before they're going to have a new version. So, this isn't something happening tomorrow, but clearly, they're not planning on doing something like the Hellcat in the future, at least not with a supercharged V8. Maybe they would still call it a Hellcat and just have some type of crazy electric boost or something, and would make for phenomenal drag racers still, but it just would not be the same. So yeah, most likely though, whenever this does get electrified with this next gen version, it's probably going to start off most likely as either an e-torque, like what you see on the new Ram, and I did a whole video kind of explaining how that works, which is just a mild hybrid. It could be a full-on plug-in hybrid as well. We do know that the Mustang's getting a hybrid version here next year as a 2021 model year vehicle in 2020. So we have that. We also know Camara's most likely going to get hybrid. There is several reports out there that kind of prove that that's clearly the way GM's going to be going with Camaro. That's the way everything's going to be going. This isn't just a decision anymore. It's just like what everything is going towards. And so, basically every vehicle you can think of is going to have this, type of electrification in some form or another, here in the 2020s. So anyway, just like I said, enjoy the Hellcats and stuff while we can. We're really living in a golden era that won't last forever. And some better news here, don't want to be a bummer. Road and Track talked with the chief engineer of Ford Performance, and previously the chief engineer for the Mustang only, Carl Winman, and asked him if they were open to doing a manual GT500 because that's one thing. Whenever the manual Supra rumors came out last week, there was people saying, well, what about a manual GT500? And clearly a lot of people still want that. But he's quoted here, the chief engineer is saying, right now we're DCT only, but we get feedback and we're real tight with the Mustang crowd. And that's where he left it. So he didn't say, so we'll probably do a manual, or we're thinking about it, just that they hear everyone. They hear everyone complaining about not having a manual. They say they're tight with the Mustang crowd, which is 100% true. Ford does listen. I remember hearing that, Ford was actually reading forum posts and all that kind of stuff. So they do, and that's totally true. But I don't know why they wouldn't offer a manual from the get-go, because they know that, Mustang, the manual transmission Mustang take rate is about 20%. So 1 in every 5 Mustangs sold is a manual transmission. So that's a pretty decent percentage these days, and you would think certainly then that means 1 in 5 GT500 owners at least most likely will want a manual. And the GT350 is manual only, so it just seems strange to kind of switch courses and be like, it's going to be manual only for the Shelby. Oh wait, never mind, it's actually DCT only for the Shelby, and kind of switch completely and do a 180 is a little strange. I'm all about giving people choice and options. If it's possible to do a GT500 manual, do a GT500 manual. It can't hurt, especially with the Mustang, to have that option. So hopefully that's something they'll add down the road, maybe the following model year to keep it fresh or something. We'll have to wait and see. Other Ford quotes here come from Automotive News. During a recent industry conference here, Ford's president of global markets, Jim Farley, the same guy who just last week confirmed there's an EV version of the F-150 coming, as well as, hybrid stuff and all that. Anyway, but he is quoted here as saying Ford is investing in more affordable versions of our truck business, and later on said, you can expect new nameplates below where we compete today. So we just saw that Ford Focus-based truck running around a few weeks ago, rumored to be called the Courier, since that's what they used to be called, and would be a smaller little truck there. Could be the return of the Ranchero or something too, which was again a car-based truck and would be very cool. So yeah, but they basically confirmed that the Ranger isn't going to be the smallest truck, which is really awesome because these mid-sized trucks are still huge these days, and I think there's a lot of people, that's why the Frontier is selling so well, because there's people who want a genuine small truck still, and they can't find it outside of the Frontier, honestly. And so I think this is going to be pretty cool, and again should help give Ford a few more I guess less expensive models, since they're just pushing nothing but SUVs going forward, and so hopefully this will give them a more affordable truck here, which is cool to hear. But who knows when we'll see this, how soon it'll be. Might be a little ways off still. Something that we will be seeing a little sooner, though, I think, is Car Magazine has a report here talking about the new M3 coming. And in the report here, they're claiming to have some interesting info. First of which is that the new M3 is supposed to be revealed at the Frankfurt Motor Show in September. So a little bit of a wait, but not too long. They're also reporting there's going to be two different versions here of the M3. The first is going to be the one that everyone is expecting, which is this X-Drive all-wheel drive version, which will be 8-speed automatic transmission only. And have more power. They're saying it's going to be 474 horsepower from the 3-liter turbo, twin turbo inline 6 motor. But the more interesting thing is they're talking about how there's going to be a pure model, a second version of the M3 coming right at launch supposedly, that's going to get 20 less horsepower, but will be rear-wheel drive only, and will also be getting a 6-speed manual transmission, I believe, as its only option. So this is going to kind of be a stripped out version. It's going to have some unique styling as well, they're saying, at least according to this report, is that it could have some tweaks and different trim, and also could have a stripped out interior, which might mean no luxury, not as many luxury features, not as much tech possibly, but could make it lighter, which again enthusiasts do want. So kind of, I guess that one would be the Enthusiast Special, although I don't know why you'd give the Enthusiast Special 20 less horsepower. That's a little odd, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're secretly trying to force people into the all-wheel drive automatic one. But anyway, it'd be awesome if they do offer this. Again, nothing official here, but it'd be awesome if it does come to pass, whatever they end up calling it. And in this report, they're also talking briefly about the M4 and saying how it's going to get the usual higher-end versions throughout the course of its life, and also saying that the convertible version is going to go to a soft-top convertible instead of the retractable hard-top that's currently on the current M4. But yeah, so anyway, I'm not sure if that's going to be getting the same pure package or what they have in store for the M4. But at least for the M3, that all sounds pretty great to me. And so again, cool to see BMW hopefully, reportedly giving people options. Just give people the option. If they don't buy it, so be it. Or make it order only or something, but at least offer it. I think that would be awesome. And so anyway, cool to see that. And I'm back to having my microphone work. By the way, a little side note, for those of you that always complain about the microphone placement, what you just heard for the first part of the video is how it would sound if I didn't have the microphone here where I have it placed. So I wish I could have some other place for it, but this is the only way that works. And I think the audio, as you can probably tell, sounds much better this way. Anyway, moving on to the next report here this week, we have Mazda has officially announced pricing for the 2019 Mazda 3, which is going to be starting at $21,895, including destination, which is about $3,000 more than 2018 models. But those had a 2-liter and manual as standard, and for these 2019s, they start off with the 2.5-liter. All of them get the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder motor instead, which is the more powerful one, and also they all come standard with an automatic. So those two things are what kind of drive the price up. If you were to equip a 2018 Mazda 3 with a 2.5 liter and an automatic, you'd be looking at roughly $140 more than the new 2019. So you kind of get it's a good deal, even though it looks on paper like it's more expensive. It actually isn't, and it's actually a really good value. So moving on from that, though, some other improved standard equipment you get here with the new Mazda 3. In standard equipment on all vehicles, you get a new 8.8-inch screen, a 7-inch gauge cluster display as well. Strangely, though, that 8.8-inch screen, you don't get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on the base trim. You have to go up a trim. Not sure why. Seems silly to not make it standard like other companies. Anyway, other stuff here, though, a 7-inch gauge cluster screen as standard is really great to see. Also, LED headlamps and tail lamps are standard as well. There's new knee airbags too, which is a nice, additional standard safety feature. Moving on from that, base sedan, the cheapest hatchback, unfortunately, you can't get in a true base trim. You basically get what is going to be the select trim for the sedan, but they don't call it that on the hatchback. Instead, this is the base hatchback. But those start at $24,495. And so it gives you 18-inch wheels instead of the 16s on the base car. You get leatherette in all hatchbacks. You're forced to have the leatherette seats. CarPlay and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard then in the hatch. Dual zone climate, leather wrapped wheel and shift knob, as well as safety stuff. You get the blind spot monitoring, the automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise, auto high beams and wipers, and lane departure warning with lane keep assist. All that is in the select trim in the sedan for around that same price, and then in the hatch here, you have to get all that stuff in the hatch. There's no option for a base trim, but still a good amount of equipment there for, again, just stepping up to the next level. Then from there, there's the select trim, and then from that select that you can get then not in the hatchback but in the sedan. It's very confusing. I don't know why they did that and then just make it the same across the board. The next trim up is preferred, and then after that is premium as the top trim. For all those trims, once you get beyond that weird base hatch thing, it's only an extra $1,000 for each trim to have the hatchback option. So $1,000 extra for the hatch, which is about what it was before. And so fully loaded for a front-wheel drive model, you can get up to $28,395. Now, if you remember at the launch of the Mazda 3, they said there was going to be a manual offered. They just didn't know what trims, but they said technically the manual could be paired with any trim and could be also paired with the all-wheel drive. Disappointingly, Mazda has decided to relegate the manual to only the fully loaded premium trim, only on the hatchback and only in front-wheel drive. So that's disappointing in lots of ways. A manual could have been a great Subaru competitor with the all-wheel drive, having that if you could pair those two together. Also, I feel like there's people who do want the sedan that, would like to have a manual. And, the whole premium trim thing is kind of it depends on which way you look at it, because a lot of people complain that in other vehicles, whenever they do offer a manual, it's only on like the base trim or a stripped out lower spec version, like in the Honda Accord, for example. But then, there's some others where they do force you into this, top trim. So basically, if you want a manual front-wheel drive, Mazda 3 hatch, you're going to be looking at, around $28,000. So, that kind of loses the appeal, because you're still only getting 186 horsepower here. And again, you have to keep in mind, yes, the interior is going to be nicer, but you can get a Hyundai Veloster Turbo with way more horsepower. You can get yourself into, some GTIs, some of these other hot hatches for $28,000. And so the value proposition there is a little weaker. Yes, like I said, it's going to be nicer on the inside than all those competitors. But, people who, again, are wanting a manual probably care about performance a little bit more than they do about premium features. And I think that's why stuff like Honda kind of gets it right with, having the more bare bones models have the manuals, because most manual drivers, don't want a ton of tech. But again, it'd be nice to just give everyone the option. Put the manual across the board, make it order only if you're worried about not being able to move them on dealer lots, and then, at least people would have the option. Anyway, moving on from the little soapbox there. Other things about this all-wheel drive system is, like I said, it's automatic only. The cheapest all-wheel drive Mazda 3 is going to be the Select sedan, which you can get starting at $24,895. The cheapest all-wheel drive hatch, again, being $1,000 more. And then the most expensive, if you want to spend the most on a all-wheel drive Mazda 3, the premium all-wheel drive hatch will be a total of $29,795, again, including destination. So fully loaded, you can get one of these just under $30,000. And so that means the all-wheel drive is about a $1,400 upcharge for all the models. So, a reasonable upcharge for all-wheel drive. And great that they're offering the all-wheel drive, just kind of a bummer. Again, you can't get it with the manual. But anyway, all these Mazda 3s are going to be going on sale in March. So cool to see that. And we have some spy photos here, thanks to my spy photographer, Brian Williams. The first, we have some spy shots here of the Acura MDX Type-S. We've been hearing, obviously Acura confirmed last year, Type-S is returning as a trim, and now we have the MDX here as the first one spotted with this Type-S treatment. And so, you can see this MDX is, again, going to be a completely new version of the MDX, I think, or at least a heavily worked over version of the current platform. So for these Type-S models, it's reportedly going to be getting an Acura exclusive turbo V6 engine combined with a second-gen version of the super handling all-wheel drive system. And so as you can see here, it also gets a sportier exhaust, sportier styling from, again, what we can see under the camo there, which is very little. It also should get some sportier tires and brakes, a performance-tuned chassis, and sportier interior touches as well. We can also see that the 2020 MDX is going to be getting that new Acura infotainment system from the RDX, which will be very welcome. I'll be posting a review on an MDX on the current version here in a few weeks, and it's still works, but the RDX system is definitely much better. It's just hard to tell what it really looks like still, so it's anyone's guess, but it does look to be a good bit wider and lower, a little more squat than the current MDX, a little less vertical, which I think makes it look a lot sportier. Anyway, these are rumored to be debuting later this year, much later this year, most likely like at the LA Auto Show or something, November, early December, or something like that. We'll have to wait and see, but anyway, cool to see that. Toyota was spy testing the 2020 Tundra this week too for the first time, which looks to finally be getting a thorough redo here. And although it does seem to be using the same cab as the current version, but just about everything else seems to be changed. The heavy camo hiding all those changes, but does look to be a substantial change, and should be all new from the A-pillar forward, supposedly, according to my sources here, along with having an all-new interior, updated bed, and a new tailgate as well. The hanging camo there makes it hard to see what they've changed underneath, which means there's some changes, or else they wouldn't be trying to hide it. But what it could be is anyone's guess as far as, some type of suspension setup. There's possibilities it could have an air suspension option, or even possibly an independent rear suspension, although that seems a little more far-fetched. We'll have to wait and see. Mechanically, it's likely to get the new 10-speed automatic from Lexus, actually, and could get some engine tweaks as well, although probably won't change a whole lot as far as the engine goes, since it's such a strong, reliable engine, but maybe to make it a little more efficient, they'll tweak it. We'll have to see. Anyway, it's rumored to be unveiled sometime this year, but no specifics yet. Anyway, cool to see that spied. Other Toyota news here is that officially Toyota has revealed the 2020 Land Cruiser Heritage Edition ahead of the Chicago Auto Show here. And so it honors the 60th anniversary of the Land Cruiser and gets some cool tweaks. My favorite of which are these vintage badges, which look straight off of the originals and look very cool. Some other tweaks here are darker headlights and grille, which I think look pretty good as well. Bronze 18-inch forged BBS wheels and a deletion of running boards and lower body side moldings for better ground clearance whenever you're off-road there. There's also bronze accents throughout the interior. Otherwise, it's the same as other Land Cruisers, but they say they're making 1,200 of these limited edition versions, and pricing hasn't been announced, but a regular Land Cruiser is $85,000 with basically no options available. It's just you get a Land Cruiser, you pick the color and on the inside and the outside, and that's it. They're all $85,000. So this one might be a little bit more expensive for all those, extra little touches, but shouldn't be too much different. Anyway, these are going to be arriving in dealers late this summer, they said, so cool to see that. And the last bit of Toyota news here is an announcement that they won't be making the Yaris hatchback for 2019, but it's kind of weird the way they worded this. So Toyota spokeswoman Nancy Hubble told Autoblog, it's not that we're discontinuing the Liftback for 2019, but instead said they're just focusing on selling their remaining 2018s, and that there's going to be an announcement about the Yaris at the New York Auto Show in April. So I'm guessing maybe they're just waiting for whatever the new one would be, or maybe they're just going to announce they're not going to have it anymore. I don't know. But anyway, it's just, with Yaris sales continuing to drop off. I think they said last year it was just like a shadow of what it was the year before. I mean, all these, small sedans and stuff and small hatchbacks are just shrinking away as far as sales numbers. No one wants them. And so, I think it's hard to justify, especially now you have the Corolla hatchback, which is, better in every way. Now it is more expensive. It's over $4,000 more expensive than this, Yaris hatch, which was only $16,565, including destination. So, it's kind of a bummer if they do get rid of it, since it is, so affordable, but you can still get the Yaris sedan, at least for now. And so anyway, we'll have to wait and see what they say in New York, but interesting to hear that. Another small vehicle that's likely to get killed off is the Chevy Sonic. So GM already announced that the Cruze, Impala, Volt, LaCrosse, and XTS are getting killed off, but now the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Sonic is also going away, according to their people that are familiar with the matter. And so this is another case of sales just, plummeting, and no one's buying these anymore, so it's really hard to justify. Interestingly though, it's also been around for about 8 years, so they haven't tweaked it or anything a whole lot. So how well do you expect an 8-year-old car to sell anyway? But even if they did an all new version, who knows if it would sell any better. But they do build these in the Orion plant in Michigan, and so it could be not a coincidence that we're hearing about this getting killed off around the same time we've heard that the Cadillac CT6 is not getting killed off after all, and it's looking for a new production facility. This would be a very easy swap to go from one Michigan plant to another. They're fairly close to each other, and would be an easy solution, I would think, for the CT6. Again, who knows, what all would go into it, but just seems like a convenient solution to keep the CT6 around, and I think it would be much better to see the CT6 live on than to see the Sonic anyway. So, we'll have to wait and see what they officially announce, but anyway, interesting to hear that nonetheless. GMC has revealed the 2020 Sierra HD this week ahead of the Chicago Auto Show. And so as you can see, it has similar looks to the 1500 model, and thankfully avoids the super aggressive look that the Chevy version has, and looks pretty good to me, actually. It retains some cool technology from the 1500 version as well, like that multi-pro tailgate that drops out there, as well as a trailer camera system and GM's digital rearview mirror, which also comes in handy, especially when you're towing a trailer and stuff. Mechanically, there's going to be a gas and a diesel versions available, but they've only released specs for the diesel so far. And it's going to be the 6.6 liter Duramax Turbo V8 that's basically identical to the one in the outgoing truck. So it does 445 horsepower still, 910 pound-feet of torque still, like it did in the previous version. And so that, makes it still well less than the 1,000 pound-feet of torque you can now get in the new Ram Heavy Duty. Also, these new Sierra HDs only tow, but still only 30,000 pounds versus the 35,100 that the Ram can do now. So a little behind in the specs there. One new thing though, as far as mechanicals go, is that that engine is now going to be paired with an Allison Heavy Duty modified version of GM's 10-speed automatic. So that should help with efficiency and stuff. There's also going to be an AT4 off-road version for those who want a more off-road oriented heavy-duty truck, just like the 1500. And anyway, these are going to be on sale this summer, but there's no pricing for those yet. Lincoln has revealed their pricing for the 2020 Aviator, and it's going to be starting at $52,195, which again is pretty competitive whenever you consider that all the German competition is at least a couple $1,000s more. Some are well over a few thousand more, and also the Aviator outmuscles all of them, having 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque in the base model. And then you go up, if you get the plug-in hybrid version of the Aviator, like I covered whenever this first was revealed, that does 450 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. So this thing will absolutely smoke all the competition for less money. And it also has a fantastic interior, just like the Navigator, basically. And so, I mean, they can get expensive. You go for a fully loaded black label with the plug-in hybrid, you're looking at just over $90,000. But again, that's really loading up the options. And even in the base form, it seems to be a very nice SUV. Anyway, the configurator went live on Lincoln's site already. So if you're curious to see how much one would cost the way you would want it, you can head over to the Lincoln site and check that out. Other Lincoln news here is that those 80 Coach Door editions of the Continental, the suicide door ones they just revealed, is only like a few weeks ago. They said supposedly, they're going to be around 110,000, although Lincoln didn't actually even confirm a price. But all 80 are already sold out in just a few weeks here. And Lincoln said demand was so strong that they've added a second model year to the production of these. So I'm guessing, I think they said these ones are coming in this summer, and then I'm guessing next year sometime they'll have more. I don't know if they're just going to do 80 again or if they're going to try and do more, but that's guaranteeing that the Continental, one, is going to continue to live, at least to 2020, and two, that people really want suicide door Continentals. I don't know why this is a limited thing. Like, find some way to tweak the production line and make suicide door Continentals. If you build it, they will come. I swear. It seems like people are going nuts over these things. So, good news, but, follow the money, Lincoln. If people are, dying to have these, then just figure out a way to make them and, don't make it some super limited thing for 80 people. But anyway, interesting to see that. GM Authority has some images that leaked out here this week of the lightly refreshed 2020 Cadillac XT5. And it doesn't change much, as you can see. It's just a slightly tweaked grille, front bumper, the LED elements in the front and the back. And again, we only have these two pictures, so there's really not a whole lot to go off of. I'm sure it's going to look much better in the official stuff. But there's supposedly going to be some bigger changes on the inside as well, with some elements borrowed from the XT4 and the XT6. Again, we'll have to wait till we actually see images of it to know for sure. But GM Authority is also reporting that there's some leaks suggesting that it's going to be getting the newest version of GM's 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo motor as the new base engine. But the V6 would still be available as an option. And that totally makes sense to me because, you look at all the competition again from Germany, the GLCs and X3s and all that kind of stuff, they all have 4 cylinders. And even if you go up to the larger models, a lot of those have 4 cylinders as space engines as well. So this completely makes sense and should help bring the price point down in the XT5 a little bit maybe as well, which would benefit it. And they also are saying that they believe that both engines could now get the new GM 9-speed automatic as well, which should help with their efficiency a little bit, which would be good too. And anyway, these should be debuting sometime this year, probably sooner rather than later, but we'll have to wait and see, but cool to see that. Aston Martin has shown a few new pictures here of the Valkyrie hypercar while revealing a new package that's going to be available for it. It's called the AMR Performance Track Pack, and it's a little odd and confusing, which I'll get to in a second. But anyway, it's going to be available for the 150 regular Valkyries. There's a new front end for more downforce, a second set of body panels, a 2-inch lower suspension optimized for track driving, titanium brake components, and magnesium wheels. So the good news is it's going to supposedly make it about 8% quicker around a track than the already crazy fast regular version of the Valkyrie. The bad news though is that with this package, it isn't street legal anymore. So they actually said you have to send it back to Aston Martin. They have to refit the street legal stuff back onto it whenever you're done tracking it, and then it'll be street legal again. But it's this whole thing. I'm guessing maybe they would have dealers that are able to do this for you, and maybe it'd be a little bit easier. I don't know, but the most confusing thing about it, though, is that they're making the AMR Pro version already, and that's a separate Valkyrie that's only available to people who are buying the regular Valkyrie. So people buying the regular Valkyrie already probably are very rich, probably could already afford a second AMR Pro version, which they're being offered through Aston already, and that's the race, non-street legal version. So why not just have that and then have the regular Valkyrie as your normal vehicle? I don't know how many normal Valkyrie owners want to be like, you know what, I want to have 2 non-street legal vehicles and make both of my Valkyries only track usable whenever you only can drive one at a time anyway. Why would you have 2 different ones? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Again, cool they're giving people the option, I guess, but, I don't know why those people just wouldn't go for the AMR Pro version. I mean, maybe, for the few cash-strapped people that, don't want to buy both cars, they can kind of just pay to have this one swap back and forth between Track Pack fucking I don't know. But anyway, it just... it's cool anyway, nonetheless, and good to see some new images here of the Valkyrie as it's getting closer to its production state. And for some other ultra-expensive car news, Bugatti CEO said in a statement this week that there will be no SUV from Bugatti. An SUV would not do justice to the brand or its history. That's it. So, you know, I'm hoping they stick to this, but, you know, I'm not optimistic. We do know there's been, you know, sedan concepts, so maybe they would start with the sedan first. But, you know, there's other companies in the past that said, oh, we're not doing SUVs either, like Ferrari, and now they're doing SUVs. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Another vehicle that we might not be getting here that would actually be sad is a Honda's Urban EV. So we saw the concept, you know, again, about a year and a half ago or so. And so now Honda has teased a near production prototype they plan to show at the Geneva Motor Show in March. And so when it was spied a few months ago, we actually saw it running around. It had 4 doors instead of 2. So that was the big revelation there. Otherwise, though, it looked pretty much like the concept, which was awesome. So hopefully, you know, we'll get a little bit more info whenever this is actually revealed in Geneva and some more looks at it. And hopefully Honda does decide to bring it to the States. You would think with, you know, America being the land of Tesla and, you know, the birthplace of Tesla at least, you would think they would want to bring the EV version to the States here as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Another awesome car that we know we won't be getting here in the States is the Volkswagen Golf GTI TCR version. And so Volkswagen did announce they're producing it for Europe, though. So those of you across the pond, you'll be able to get them. But for those of you that do get them, you're going to be getting the same engine as the regular GTI, but this one gets 286 horsepower now and can do 0 to 62 in 5.6 seconds, they're saying. Visually, it gets a unique front lip, side skirts, rear diffuser, and roof spoiler. It also gets perforated rotors and 2 different types of 18-inch wheels available. One that's forged and one that's a regular alloy, and there's also going to be 19s available as well. Inside, you get some microfiber sports seats, which look pretty cool, red seat belts, and a slightly different steering wheel there with a little red notch at the top. No word on when this is going to be available, though, for Europeans or how much it'll cost, but it should be arriving, you know, sometime this year. Also, we have a spy picture here of a completely uncamouflaged Mk8 GTI going through McDonald's drive-thru, actually, thanks to Instagram user Johannes.vag. So it looks lower and wider than before. That's really the main takeaway that I can see. Obviously, they've tweaked a lot of stuff as well. But this is completely new, you know, Mk8 version, and you know, should have like the 48-volt mild hybrid setup on all models, and really kind of make this the future Golf that's gonna, you know, be paving the way for probably full EV versions very soon, as well as, you know, more driverless tech and stuff like that. You know, higher levels of autonomy, although not fully autonomous or anything, of course. But we have some additional info here about them thanks to Autoblog. They say to expect the reveal at the Frankfurt Motor Show in September, which seems like a long wait to me. If they're this casual about it, that they're just running through McDonald's drive-thrus with completely uncamouflaged cars. I mean, they're showing the badges and everything, which is almost unheard of. Even like Porsche, when they drive around with uncamouflaged cars, they at least cover the badges. So I don't know. I feel like this would be coming sooner than September, but who knows? According to them, it's also going to be getting a slightly longer wheelbase and lose up to 100 pounds compared to the Mark 7, depending on what trim you get. Now, overseas, they're going to be getting a 1-liter inline 3-cylinder motor as their base engine, most likely. But here, the smallest engine we'll get will be the 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, and that'll be the base engine in the Golf and stuff. But then we'll also be getting the 2-liter turbo, of course, for the GTI still, and that could do around 250 horsepower. The interesting thing, though, is what they're saying about the Golf R. So they're saying that it could have a wider body, which is cool, depending on, you know, what they do with that. But also that it could actually return to its R32 roots here and use the 3-liter V6 for around 350 horsepower, which I think would be really cool if they did that with the Golf R. All Golfs are going to be getting that 48-volt mild hybrid thing too, so that could potentially help with some type of boost or something if they plan to do maybe a plug-in hybrid version for a performance GTI or Golf R. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, European market production is supposed to start this summer, actually, and US versions should be arriving sometime in the middle of next year. year. We're always like 9 months behind European GTIs and Golfs for some reason. So Europeans will definitely get it first much sooner here. But anyway, the last vehicle here, another 2020 model that was spied, was the Mercedes E-Class refresh here for 2020. So it looks to have some more aggressive headlights there, similar to the CLS, give it a little bit of a sharper look and a little more different from the C-Class and the S-Class. Kind of differentiate a little bit with a tweaked grille and bumper as well. Out back, it's using dummy taillights, so it's hard to see what those are. It's still a mystery there. But, you know, it shouldn't be anything too radically different, obviously. And anyway, you know, not sure when the reveal of this is supposed to be. You know, we're still waiting on the GLC refresh, which is another 2020 model year vehicle coming, as well as this E-Class. The S-Class is probably due here, you know, maybe probably later this year. But there's all kinds of stuff in the works here at Mercedes, so it's anyone's guess when this one's coming. But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.